She is the most honored female country performer of all time, achieving 25 certified gold, platinum, and multi-platinum awards. She has had 25 songs reach number one on the Billboard country charts, over 41 top 10 country albums, and not to mention 110 charted singles over the past 40 years. Miss Dolly Parton's going to be releasing her 42nd studio album, Blue Smoke, coming up this Tuesday. Now, Dolly, what's the story behind the idea of Blue Smoke?
Well, it is and it ain't really. You know, it's like everything else. It's really very simple. I wrote Blue Smoke years ago, and I love the title. And, of course, we were always known in the Smokies as that blue smoke that kind of comes off the mountains. And so that kind of fit because I'm from the Smokies. But also it has a lot of bluegrass flavors to it. So I thought the bluegrass, the blue smoke. And anyway, I just loved the song. I just thought it was a good title. And I didn't have time to do a photo session, so we just did artwork. So we just painted out, so put a lot of blue smoke, put the mountains behind me. And well, actually it was a real picture, but then they took it and kind of painted, which I liked the way it looked. I thought it was neat. So it wasn't really that mysterious, but it made a good title. Anytime you're going to do a tour, you always think, well, I need to have an album to go with it. Or if you've got an album, you think, well, we better do a tour. So one kind of goes hand in hand. And so since that was the title of the album, we thought, well, it'll just be the Blue Smoke World Tour. So that's what it is.
I know you have inspired so many different people throughout your amazing career, throughout the world. And do you have any advice for women to get ahead in life and be successful in what they love to do?
Well, I think that a talented person is a talented person, whether they're male or female, and everybody should have the same opportunity. I never even thought about whether or not I was a girl or a boy. I just knew I had something to offer, something to sell, and I grew up in a family of 6 brothers, my dad and all my uncles, so I always said I look like a woman, but I can think like a man. And so I just think you should just take whatever your talent is and don't let somebody stop you. Just when I used to come to town years ago, when I first got here back in 1964, I would just go into these people's offices. I'd be the only girl there sometimes. And I'd just say, well, I got something I think can make us both a lot of money. So I would present myself, and if they took it, they took it. And if they didn't, they didn't. I never slept with anybody to get ahead. If I slept with them, it's because I wanted to. Figured I might enjoy it.
Now, I know you and Willie Nelson grew up together while you're both starting out in the business, and kind of take me full circle, Dolly, on the beginning of meeting Willie Nelson to today, because I know you and him are doing a duet on the new album Blue Sky titled From Here to the Moon and Back, and I know you love Willie.
I've loved Willie, like you said, even before Kenny. Willie and I came to town at the same time. We both, back in 1964, 65, 66, we both were writing for Combine Music, Fred Foster, Monument Records, and we used to hang out a lot together, different people. Even Christopherson back in those days, we all knew each other, and we used to sit around and write different songs, whether we were writing together or separately. It was one of those places where everybody kind of flopped down there in the basement of Monument Records, and everybody's kind of hanging around. So I got to know them, they got to know me, and Willie and I are so similar. We both we were at the Combine Monument, then we both went to RCA. So I've known him all of the days I've been in Nashville, and I just love him. I think he's a character, and when we got ready to do the song, Willie called me. He was doing his album of all the girls he'd loved before, or made love to, I don't know. I was one of the girls he loved. We never had a thing going. It's a wonder, though. But anyway, could have happened. But anyway, he was doing that, and he said, well, I want to do duets with all the great gals that I love. And I love your song, From Here to the Moon and Back, which is a song I had written for Joyful Noise. And so he said, I can really play the hell out of that guitar on that particular song. So I said, well, let's go for it. So we did it, and it was just, singing with him was the hardest job I've ever had in my life, because we both phrase different. And you would think, though, that we're both so unusual in our style that we would just really blend. It worked me to death. And now, he had already put his vocal down, and so I was trying to sing to him, and I called him up and said, Willie, you should have sent me a sack of dope if you thought I was going to keep up with you. I don't know whether to forge ahead or to really lay back. But anyway, we finally did it. I never did quite catch him, but I think the blend of it worked out really well.
Dolly, what's your philosophy on life? Is it always to try your absolute best and dream up the best goals for yourself? Because you have inspired so many people with your philosophy on life. Tell me about that.
Well, thank you. Yes, I have always been a dreamer, and yes, I have always tried. And it's really the theme song for the Imagination Library. when I first started thinking about putting that whole thing together, I knew it would be important to encourage people to try. So I just kind of took it from a personal standpoint that, I've always tried. I've always been a dreamer, and dreams are special things, but dreams are of no value if they're not equipped with wings, and feet and hands and all that. So if you're going to make a dream come true, you got to work it. You can't just sit around. That's a wish. That's not a dream, So you got to really put that all to good use.
Now, Dolly, I got to tell you, it's so great that you included your rendition of the 1980s song originally done by the rock band Bon Jovi, a great song called Lay Your Hands on Me. And why did you choose that particular tune from Bon Jovi?
Through the years, I've chosen songs from other fields of music, like when I did Shine, and when I did, different things I've done, like, I can't even think of all the different ones, but I've done different ones pulling it from the pop field. But the first time I heard Lay Your Hands on Me years ago, I love Bon Jovi, first of all. I thought, wow, that sounds like that would make a great gospel song, because I grew up where we believed in laying hands on people, praying for them. And you just always think like for God to lay his hand on you, keep his ever, loving hand on you. So I just thought, when I got ready to record this album, I thought, well, which song am I going to choose to put in this? A cover, where I kind of dolly-eyes it and do bluegrass and, kind of country. And that one popped in my mind. And so I thought, well, that would make a great gospel song. So I thought, well, I can't just take the liberty of taking somebody's song and writing words to it without getting their blessings or having them help me with it. So I called John Bon Jovi, because a lot of my people know him. And we asked about doing it, and he said, that's fine. I said, well, can you help me with it? Throw me in some lines. Same with Richie Sambora. I guess they wrote the song together. And so they just threw some ideas out, and I threw some ideas out. They loved what I was doing. I loved what they was doing. And I said, well, you wouldn't be opposed to winning a Dove Award, would you, if I should put it out as a gospel tune? They said no. So anyhow, it was kind of a thing that everybody blessed and approved, and kind of everybody threw their 2 cents worth in.
I heard, Dolly, you just launched a brand new world tour in support of your brand new studio album, Blue Smoke, and I know you just got back from Australia, and was Australia a real good time?
Yeah, we did. We love going overseas because you don't get to go that often. Of course, Australia, I've had fans there since the early 70s, late 60s, and the same with Europe, because since songs like Coat of Many Colors and things like that, a lot of people related to me back then, so I kind of started building a fan base. Then when I was lucky enough to get to do movies, they kind of related to that as well. And so when you go overseas like that, especially Australia, where they really are country people, they really relate to me and the way I grew up and the stories I tell and the family stuff that I talk about. And they really know that you're not going to be likely to just run over there on a weekend. It's like 20 hours flying, and and then you got to get all the people that you take. So they really know they may not get to see you again, and so they really are so responsive. They're just so excited and so excitable and exciting that it really makes it a joy. I mean, of course, here I have wonderful fans, and I wouldn't ever put one against the other in a group of fans, but they just seem to want to show you more. In case they don't get to see you again, they want you to know how much they appreciate you, and that's a good feeling, and I give them everything I got too, because I don't know when I'll see them again.
Now, Dolly, I know you've had countless recording sessions with the legendary Kenny Rogers, and he appears on your brand new tune, You Can't Make Old Friends, that's available on your brand new album, Blue Smoke, and I'm sure you both had a blast in the studio recording together, right?
Well, I tell you, this day and time, it's really hard to get anybody in the studio with you because everybody's schedules are so different. But all through the years, I have worked with Kenny in the studio. But on this particular one, we worked together, though, in the studio. He had already put his vocal down, but he was there in the studio when I was doing mine. We had a film crew and all that. So I love Kenny. I just absolutely love him. We're just so connected. He's just like a brother, like a twin. We're kind of like twin souls somehow. And I love the blend of our voices too. So, and this particular song was very emotional to me, as well as to Kenny and any of you, I'm sure, that's had a friend, true friend. You can't make old friends. It's like my friend Judy and I have been together since we were in the 3rd grade. Now, I make a lot of friends, and I have a lot of friends. You just can't make those kind of friends. And Kenny is a dear friend in addition to a great singing partner and a great human being. So, but we were there. We were together, and he was coaching me along to say, he said, well, I had to do mine first because I wasn't going to embarrass myself in case I hit some bad notes in front of the cameras. I said, oh, so you left my ass out there to suffer. So thank you, Kenny. That's an old friend for you. A good old friend.
Dolly, tell me more about your imagination library that you have, and does the inspiration stem back to your childhood to give kids the opportunities to read?
That's true. I think one of the things, they call me the book lady, by the way, which is a cute little thing. The kids always think of me everywhere I go, thank you for the books. But actually, you're right, you can't get enough books in the hands of enough children. And the imagination library really came from a real serious place in my heart, not just because we didn't have enough books. We couldn't keep books at home because there's so many kids. You know, we had to leave the books at school. But my dad and a lot of my relatives were not able to go to school because they were all from big, poor mountain families. And when kids were born, they had to get out and work the fields and do whatever they could to keep the rest of the family going. And my dad was so smart. He never got to go to school, so he couldn't read and write. And as he grew older, he thought it was much, much harder to do than it probably really ever was. But I just knew how crippling that was to him. And so that's when I started the Imagination Library. I thought this would be a wonderful thing because there's a lot of people in this world, you know, like that. And a lot of people that are ashamed of the fact that they can't read and write. But, you know, it was really a wonderful thing. My dad was so proud of that. He got to live long enough to see the Imagination Library do well and to hear the kids call me the book lady. He took great pride in that and feeling like that he had really done something in his life, even if it was for an odd kind of reason. He really felt like he had been a part of something special and something good, and that made him have some pride in that he wasn't able to have in the fact that he was more educated.